Hi, my name is Heather Smith and I'm talking with accountants and bookkeepers from all over the world about how they've defined their receipt bank preference settings. I'm asking them their thought process behind the preference settings they chose. In this video, I'm speaking with Kim Deere from England. Thank you so much, Kim, for joining us today.
Pleasure.
Can you share with the viewers what business you're from and whereabouts you're located?
My company name is Trekim Business Accounting Services. I'm located in the UK in a village called Colville in Leicestershire.
Can I ask you why you use Receipt Bank in your business?
I found that by using Receipt Bank, I'm far more efficient and saves me so much time. And I love the fact that the source document is attached to the transaction in Xero once I've processed it through, and it just makes life so much easier.
Very good. And could you estimate how much time it saves you during perhaps a week?
It's so difficult to say because some of the clients I can auto process, so it saves, coding for everything, and then other clients, because of the way they work, I can't auto process because you've got to do the tracking. So I would say a good couple of hours, probably a day's work over a 2-week period.
Wow, that's a huge amount of time. What do you do with that time that you're saving by using Receipt Bank?
Well, it just helps you to be more efficient and take on, more work so that you can actually, provide the services to more people.
So it's enabled you to grow your business?
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, thank you for sharing that with me, Kim. So
That's
we're looking here at the general page, general settings in Receipt Bank. So if I could ask you, if we're looking at the top section there, the system settings, you have payment status, and you have receipts not paid unless a payment method is, I think it's defined. Invoices,
That's right, yeah.
not paid unless a payment method is defined, and credit notes, not paid unless a payment method is defined. Why have you chosen those options there, Kim?
Because, for example, if a client pays by cash, it's, you can mark it as paid straight away in Receipt Bank, straight to the director's loan account if they don't have a petty cash system going, which saves you going into Xero and having to mark it manually as paid again. And also, if they've used their debit card or credit card on a regular basis, you can set up Receipt Bank to recognize the last 4 digits of the card, and you can tell it which bank account it goes to. So it automatically then marks it as paid in Xero, and you can match it up in the bank rec.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. So the next section down, it says due dates for invoices. And you've set this up to default to a set date of each month, and the date you've opted for is the last day of the following month. So why did you choose that option?
Because that's generally the 30-day rule on most suppliers. It's not, it's not hard and fast that every supplier is going to give you 30 days, but it is the sort of normal terms, I guess. So then you can override it on the transaction if it's not that. And Receipt Bank, it's one thing that Receipt Bank doesn't always get right as the payment terms date, but you can edit it on the actual invoice if needed.
Yes, you definitely can edit it. And does this help your clients with their cash management by pushing it through that way?
Yeah, because if we are doing cash flow, a lot of the cash flow systems look at the due date of the payment. So if that is if that is something that you're doing with your client, it's important that we get those due dates correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so this is just a default. So a worst case scenario, it's going to say it's going to be paid in 30 days, but you can always amend it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just the default, and you can go and redefine it. So the next section down is net amount, and it says choose whether to show the net amount on downloadable CSVs, but you've got this set as off. Do you use the downloadable CSVs?
No.
No. That's
No,
fine.
I
Yes.
don't use it at all. So, because they integrate, my practice is only Receipt Bank and Xero. So,
Hmm.
I don't have to download the CSVs for anything.
Excellent. So then the next section down. Now, can you move your screen down a little bit so we can get excellent? So the next section down is categorization, and what you've got set up here is the configuration, the settings that determine how Receipt Bank will categorize your items, and you've got it auto categorization set as on, and to include new suppliers, and the categories display will be code and name with categories sorted by code.
Yeah.
So did you have any thoughts about that, why you opted for those options?
I guess the code, that's how you see it in Xero. So you kind of get to know the default numbers. So I just really just accepted the default because it doesn't make much difference, because in Receipt Bank you can just start typing the name anyway and it'll pop up. So it's just a matter of preference, I guess, or thing.
Yes.
The auto categorization, it's helpful because it speeds up things. So once you've taught Receipt Bank sort of categorizing a regular supplier, it will remember that. So it just saves time continuously. Yeah. I know you can set up the supplier rules and that sort of thing, but if you haven't set up the rules, then, defaults.
Yes, absolutely. So then the next section down is archiving. So this is about when the items have been processed and then they can be archived. And you've got, once they're published, they're archived. And once they've been added to an expense report, they've archived. But if you've exported them, you're not archiving them, which kind of makes sort of common sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't export to CSV, so I didn't bother with that one. I've not had the need for that functionality yet. I might, change that if I did. And exporting to a PDF, I just then manually archive it because it kind of gives me a bit more control. If you've got a supplier where you have to allocate it across multiple lines, which aren't consistent, so you can't set up the supplier rule, I sometimes download that and manually add it to an invoice which I've already got saved as a draft in Xero. Then all I've got to do is attach the invoice rather than redoing those lines every time.
Absolutely. Excellent.
And then I manually archive it so that I know I've not missed something.
Absolutely. So you've got some auto archiving happening, but manual archiving happening in some instances.
Yeah.
And if we can click on the integration tab on the left side there. So if we can work through this, you've got it integrated with Xero, and you've got publish multiple currencies turned on, default publish to destination defaulted to purchases, and publish items to purchases as paid where possible. So what was your thought process behind this?
I have this setting on this particular client and most of my clients, but I do have one client which is only uses bank and doesn't use a purchase ledger. So that default destination is then to the bank. So it's just where you want it to go to. So depending on what you're processing. So if you've got a cash client who doesn't
simple cash client,
ledger, you can change that to the bank account, and then Receipt Bank won't post it if you haven't allocated the bank. But for me, for most of my clients, I like everything to go through the purchase ledger because then you've got a view of that supplier in one place. I know that you can get a sort of view, but it just saves duplicates as well, I think.
It does. It does. It actually does highlight if a duplicate has accidentally gone in there via perhaps someone else jumping on and putting something in there.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to see. And I think we get a lot more visibility over what's happening by pushing everything into purchases, so I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then the next section down is publish expense reports to purchases as a draft. Do you do that much?
In this particular business, I don't have expense reports, but
Mm-hmm.
in other businesses I do, and I actually send it to awaiting approval,
Mm-hmm.
not to draft, because then the person in charge at the business can actually check the expense claim and then approve it for payment.
Okay, absolutely. Then down to the next section in the tax settings, publishing
Yeah.
tax data to purchasers, allow receipt bank to decide, using
Yeah.
tax list turned on, and using the supplier tax rate turned on.
Yeah.
So what was your thought process behind this?
So with Receipt Bank, if you allow Receipt Bank to decide, whatever you do in Receipt Bank goes through to Xero. But if you select the other one, which is allow Xero to calculate, and I select that one if my client is on flat rate because you don't want VAT going through, and the other one, if you allow Receipt Bank to decide with exceptions, if your account in Xero is set up with a different tax rate to what you've told it in Receipt Bank, Xero will override what comes through. So it just depends on your business and what the client needs. But 90% of mine allow Receipt Bank to decide, because if I've done it in Receipt Bank, that's what I want it to go through to Xero as, unless it's a client that's on flat rate, in which case I would allow Xero to decide because I don't want any VAT going through.
For listeners who are outside of England, can you briefly explain what you mean by flat rate?
So in the UK we have different VAT rates, and a flat rate scheme is where an organisation has to pay the 20% if it's a VATable sale on their sales, and then none of the purchases you claim VAT on. So when you do your return, HMRC has a list of percentages per business type, and they've actually just changed it. Most businesses now are 16.5%, so they would only have to pay over 16.5% of their gross sales, rather than offsetting their purchase VAT and their sales VAT to get the net.
Really interesting. I had no idea the VAT was different in England. I thought that everything was standardized in terms of VAT. So thank you for sharing and explaining that.
No, it used to be some businesses only pay 9%, some businesses used to pay 12%. So if you were just starting out, it made sense. But now HMRC have upped it, and most businesses are on 16.5%. So I don't think we're going to see that many people staying on flat rate now, because it's not as beneficial.
Absolutely, absolutely. Are you able to scroll down the screen a little so we can see the rest of it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this is interesting. So you have set up automatic publishing, and you've got automatic publish all items as off, but the exceptions are ATM withdrawals, other, statement remittance advice, delivery notes, and mileage. So you've got those to publish.
Yeah, because what you don't want to do, I made the mistake first up, is I had automatically publish all items and I never ticked any boxes. So my statements were being published as well, which causes a duplicate transaction in Xero, which you don't want. So, and the reason why I've ticked ATM withdrawal, for example, is often that's cash, and you've got to look at it and decide whether that actually should be published, because sometimes clients send things through that you don't really want to be published through. So you want to be able to check those things. So those kind of document types, I just feel I need to double check before I publish it. And then on the supplier, I set the automatic rules. So I don't automatically publish everything. There's certain suppliers which I will publish, things like telephone and things that happen on a regular basis that don't change.
Yes.
But I prefer to have that little bit of extra control.
Excellent, excellent. Oh, that's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that. So we're
Okay.
looking at my details, and we're looking at your notification email settings. So down the bottom there, you've got frequency daily, acknowledgement on, account on, processing on, and publishing on. So what was your thought process behind this?
To be honest, I never really take much notice of this. I like to get notified if there's been an issue, because often clients say, oh, I've sent it to Receipt Bank and it's not there, and then at least I've been notified if there's a problem with it, maybe a duplicate, or it couldn't read it, or they've sent the wrong kind of file or something. So I've just accepted the defaults. I've not really played around too much with that side.
Absolutely. Oh, no worries. Thank you very much, Kim, for sharing how you set up Receipt Bank. I really appreciate you sharing your time with us today. It was very interesting to see the different ways you set it up. Now, if viewers of this video are interested in getting in touch with you, how should they do that?
They can email me. My email is kim@kimdeere.co.uk.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay then, thank you.